Have you ever walked into a supermarket for just one thing? A simple carton of milk. Your mission is clear. Your path is straight. In and out. A 5-minute operation. You grab the milk from the chilled aisle at the very back of the store, and on your way back to the checkout, something strange happens. A brightly colored package of cookies, ones you haven't had since you were a child, seems to call your name from the shelf. You pause. Well, milk and cookies, that's a classic pairing, right? It's almost logical. You keep walking. A end-of-aisle display boasts a new kind of artisan pasta. Limited edition, the sign says. You don't eat pasta. You have pasta at home. But, limited edition. You pick it up. It feels rustic, authentic. Then, a friendly employee offers you a tiny paper cup with a new flavor of yogurt. It's delicious, creamy, and it's on sale just for today. Into the basket it goes. You finally arrive at the checkout. Your single carton of milk, now accompanied by cookies, pasta, yogurt, a magazine from the rack, and a faint feeling of confusion. How did this happen? You're a rational person. You had a list, even if it was just in your head. What if I told you that your detour was not an accident? That your sudden craving for childhood cookies and artisan pasta wasn't a random whim? That the store itself, from the moment you passed through its automatic doors, was gently, silently steering you? Welcome to the world of priming, the unseen architect of so many of your choices. This isn't about mind control. It's far softer, far more subtle than that. It's about influence. It's about the gentle nudges that surround us every day, guiding our thoughts and actions down paths that feel like our own, but were, in a way, landscaped by someone else. Priming is a psychological concept, but let's strip away the academic jargon. Imagine your mind is not a single, solid thing, but a vast, dark, quiet ocean. And ideas, concepts, memories, they are like creatures living in the deep. They sleep. They are dormant. Now, a prime is like a soft, specific glow of light shone into that water. It doesn't grab the creature. It doesn't force it to the surface. It just illuminates it, makes it more active, more ready. So when you later need to think of something, the creature that's already awake and swimming near the surface is the one you're most likely to catch. Let me give you a simple, almost silly example. I'm going to give you a word puzzle. Finish this word. S__P. What did you think of? Soap? Soup? Perhaps, if you're feeling fancy, sape? No, that's not a word. Now let's rewind. Before I gave you that puzzle, let's say we had a quiet, calm conversation about cleanliness, about taking a long, hot shower after a hard day, the feeling of being fresh and clean. Then I say, finish this word, S__P. You almost certainly thought of soap. The concept of cleanliness was already glowing in the water of your mind. The prime made that idea active, ready to be used. But what if before the puzzle we talked about food, about a cold day, and the comfort of a warm, hearty meal? Then I say, S__P. Your mind, now primed with concepts of food and warmth, is far more likely to land on soup. You see, the same puzzle, two different outcomes, gently guided by what came before. Now, let's go back to that supermarket. It is a masterclass in priming. It is a carefully designed environment where every sight, smell, and sound is a soft glow intended to wake up specific creatures in the ocean of your mind. Why is the bakery often at the entrance? So the warm, comforting smell of fresh bread hits you immediately. What does that smell prime? Feelings of comfort, of home, of nurturing. It puts you in a relaxed, receptive state. It makes you feel good. And when you feel good, you're likely to spend more. It's not a sinister plan. It's just a warm, fragrant nudge. Why are the fruits and vegetables usually in the first section? The bright colors of apples, oranges, and leafy greens are a visual prime for freshness and health. It subconsciously makes you feel like you're in a healthy, wholesome place. This feeling, this halo of health, then extends to the rest of your shopping. Those cookies you later pick up, well, you've already got bananas and spinach in your cart. You've been good. So a little treat is justified, right? The store primed you to feel virtuous first, making the indulgent choice easier later. Even the music is a prime. Have you noticed the music in a supermarket is always slow, calm, and melodic? Studies have shown that slow-tempo music actually makes people walk more slowly. And when people walk more slowly, they spend more time in the store. And the more time they spend, the more they see. And the more they see, the more they buy. The music isn't just for ambience. It's a tempo prime, setting the pace for your wallet. But it goes far beyond shopping. This unseen architect designs your digital world, too. Have you ever scrolled through a social media feed and seen an ad for a vacation in Bali with beautiful turquoise water and white sand beaches? Then you close your phone, and a few minutes later, you find yourself idly searching flight prices to Bali on your laptop. You feel like it was your idea, a spontaneous burst of wanderlust. But was it, or was the image of that tranquil beach a prime? It awakened the creature in your mind associated with escape, relaxation, and beauty. It made that concept more active. So when you next had a free moment to think, that was the concept that swam to the surface. The choice felt like yours, and it was, but the menu of choices was gently curated. This is the darkest, and yet most boring, trick of all. The trick of making you feel entirely in control, while the environment is subtly shaping what you want to control. It's not about forcing a decision. It's about making one decision feel more natural, more obvious, more yours than the others. It works because our brains are magnificent, but lazy machines. They love shortcuts, constantly analyzing every single detail of every single choice would be exhausting. So, we rely on what's readily available in our minds. What's been recently activated? What's been primed? So the next time you find yourself with a cart full of things you didn't plan to buy, or dreaming of a vacation you saw in an ad, or even just choosing one word over another, you can pause and smile and acknowledge the unseen architect, not to fight it, but just to know it's there, a quiet force in the background of everyday life, gently glowing lights into the deep, dark water of your mind. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a supermarket layout can influence what we eat, what other invisible forces are at play? What happens when we're not primed by places, but by people, by the crowd around us? That is a story for the next part. Have you ever been watching an old television show and heard it? That sound. It's unmistakable. A wave of laughter that follows a joke. But there's no live audience in the studio. The laughter is recorded. It's what they call a laugh track. It feels a little cheap, doesn't it? A little obvious. Maybe even manipulative. But here's the strange thing: it works. Studies have shown that people rate jokes as funnier when they are followed by the sound of other people laughing. Even when we know it's a laugh track, even when we roll our eyes at it, a part of our brain is persuaded. A part of us thinks, well, everyone else is laughing, so it must be funny. Why? Why does the sound of other people's amusement make us more amused? Or consider this. You're walking down a street in a part of town you don't know very well. You're looking for a place to eat. You see two restaurants right next to each other. One is completely empty. The tables are pristine. The waitstaff looks bored, staring off into the middle distance. The other restaurant is bustling. Nearly every table is full. There's a low hum of conversation, the clinking of glasses. There's even a small line of people waiting patiently for a table. Which restaurant do you choose? Almost without exception, you'll choose the busy one, the one with a line. The empty restaurant might have better food. It might be cheaper. The chef might be a genius who just opened last week. But you'll likely walk right past it. You'll join the line for the busy place. Why? What is this powerful, invisible force that pulls us toward the crowd? This force, this psychological gravity, has a name. It's called social proof. And it is one of the most pervasive and powerful hidden tricks in the entire human experience. Social proof is a simple, boring, and deeply ingrained mental shortcut. When we are uncertain about what to do, we look to other people to see what they are doing. We assume that if a lot of people are doing something, it must be the correct thing to do. It's a way of making decisions without having to do all the hard, exhausting work of thinking for ourselves. It's our brain's way of saying, well, they all seem to know what they're doing. I'll just follow along. It makes perfect sense from an evolutionary standpoint. Imagine our ancient ancestors on the savannah. One person sees a strange berry and isn't sure if it's safe to eat. But if they see 10 other tribespeople eating that berry and smiling well, it's probably okay. If everyone suddenly starts running away from a thicket, you don't stop to ask why. You run first and ask questions later. Following the crowd was often a matter of survival. In our modern world, we're not running from predators usually, but we are constantly faced with uncertainty. Which movie should I watch? Which book should I read? Which restaurant should I try? Which political candidate should I trust? These are complex questions, so we outsource the answer. We look for social proof. We see it in the little things. The 5-star review on Amazon, the most popular tab on a website, the number of likes on a social media post. A product that is sold out suddenly becomes infinitely more desirable than it was when it was fully in stock. Its scarcity is the ultimate social proof. So many people wanted this that there is none left. I must have it. The brilliant psychologist Robert Cialdini, who wrote the book on persuasion, literally, it's called Influence, demonstrated this with a simple, powerful experiment. He and his team wanted to see if they could increase the reuse of towels in hotels. You know the little cards in bathrooms that say, "Help save the environment. Hang your towel up to reuse it." They tried different messages. One was the standard environmental plea. Another appealed to people's sense of altruism, saying the hotel would donate to environmental causes if guests reused towels. They were somewhat effective. But then, they tried a message that leveraged social proof. The card read, "The majority of guests in this hotel reused their towels at least once during their stay." That was it. That simple statement, telling people what everyone else was doing, led to a massive increase in towel reuse. It outperformed all the other messages. People didn't want to be the odd one out. They saw the social norm and followed it. This is the gentle power of social proof. It doesn't command. It doesn't demand. It just informs. It makes a behavior seem normal. And we have a deep, deep desire to be normal, to fit in. But this force, like any powerful force, has a darker side. It can lead us down paths we might not have chosen on our own. It can make foolish things seem sensible just because everyone is doing them. Think of financial bubbles. The dot-com bubble of the late 1990s, the housing bubble of the mid-2000s. At the time, it seemed like everyone was investing in internet stocks or buying houses. People were getting rich, or so it seemed. The social proof was overwhelming. "Don't be left behind," was the cry. So people poured their life savings into things they didn't understand, because the crowd was doing it. The gravitational pull was too strong to resist. And when the bubbles burst, the crowd, collectively, realized its error. But by then it was too late. Or think about the spread of misinformation online. A wild rumor, a photoshopped image, a conspiracy theory, it gains traction not because of its evidence, but because of its social proof. It gets shared and retweeted and liked, and the sheer volume of engagement becomes its own proof. So many people are talking about this. There must be some truth to it, we think. The number of voices becomes confused with the validity of the claim. This is the darkest trick hidden within social proof. It can short-circuit our critical thinking. It can make us value the opinion of the crowd over the facts of the matter. It can make us afraid to be the one person sitting in the empty restaurant, trusting our own judgment against the apparent wisdom of the multitude. Yet, for all its potential dangers, social proof is mostly just a quiet, boring part of our daily lives. It's the reason we watch the viral video everyone is talking about. It's the reason we try the coffee shop with the long line. It's the reason we feel a pang of anxiety if our post on social media isn't getting any likes, as if the silence of the crowd is a form of social disapproval. So what can we do? How do we navigate a world filled with this invisible gravity? The first step is simply awareness. To notice it, to feel its pull. When you find yourself making a choice, whether it's which movie to stream or which belief to hold, pause for just a moment and ask yourself, am I choosing this because I truly want it, or am I choosing it because it feels like what everyone else is doing? There's no right or wrong answer. Sometimes, following the crowd is the perfect choice. The busy restaurant is usually busy for a reason. The point isn't to rebel against every trend. The point is to just know, to feel the current you're swimming in. It's about realizing that the laughter you hear might just be a recording, and that's okay. You can still choose to laugh or not. But now, the choice feels a little more like your own, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we are so easily guided by the crowd, what happens when the crowd is built, not of many people, but of a single, persistent voice? What happens when someone doesn't just show us the social norm, but slowly, gently builds a new one just for us? One small, seemingly insignificant agreement at a time. That quiet, gradual construction is our next story. You never intended to walk down a path that was carefully laid out for you, one brick at a time. This is the story of commitment and consistency. It is the psychology of the gradual yes, and it is perhaps one of the most gently powerful forces guiding our behavior. Let's paint a picture. Imagine your neighbor knocks on your door. She seems a little flustered. "I'm so sorry to bother you," she says. "I'm waiting for a furniture delivery, and I have to run out for just 15 minutes. Would it be absolutely impossible for you to just keep an ear out for the door? You don't have to let them in or anything. Just if you hear the truck, could you maybe text me? That's all." This is a tiny request, almost negligible. It costs you nothing. You're working from home anyway. You'll be there. Why not? It's the neighborly thing to do. "Sure," you say. "No problem at all." You feel good. You've helped. An hour later, you get a text. "Truck is here. They say they can only wait 5 minutes. Any chance you could just run over and let them in? I'll be there in 3, I promise." The key is under the mat. This is a slightly bigger ask. You have to go over there. But you already said you'd help. You're already involved. You're a helpful person. It would be inconsistent to say no now. It would make your first agreement seem meaningless. So you sigh, and you go. You let the delivery people in. 10 minutes later, your neighbor arrives, breathless and grateful. "You are a lifesaver. Thank you so much. Oh, just one last thing. They need someone to sign for the delivery. Would you mind? Just scribble your name right here." You're holding the clipboard. The delivery driver is looking at you. Your neighbor is beaming. You've come this far. What's a signature? So you sign. You have just gone from keeping an ear out to legally signing for a delivery of furniture for someone else. A request you would have almost certainly refused if it had been the first thing she asked. But because it was the last thing in a series of escalating commitments, you did it. This is the foot in the door technique. And it works because of two deeply ingrained human desires: the desire to be consistent and the desire to see ourselves as good, helpful, committed people. Once we have committed to a small action or belief, we feel a powerful internal pressure to behave in ways that are consistent with that initial commitment. To do otherwise creates a feeling of unease, a cognitive dissonance. It's as if our brain says, "I am a person who helps neighbors. I said I would help. Therefore, I must continue to help. Otherwise, my idea of myself is wrong." And we will often go to great lengths to avoid that feeling of being wrong or inconsistent. It's a slow, gentle art. It's not about the slam of the door. It's about getting a foot in the door. Just a wedge. Once that foot is in, the rest of the door, and indeed the rest of the person, often follows. We see this everywhere, in ways both benign and less so. Think about free trials for software or streaming services. Why are they free? It's not just to let you try the product. It's to get you to use the product, to get you to commit time to it, to build playlists, to customize your profile, to get used to its interface. You are building a history with it. You are creating a commitment. When the free trial ends, you're not just deciding whether you like the product. You're deciding whether to abandon something you've already invested in. The psychological cost of quitting has been quietly raised. That first yes to the free trial makes the yes to the paid subscription far more likely. Charities understand this perfectly. They rarely call you up and ask for a massive, one-time donation. They might first ask you to simply sign a petition supporting their cause. A small thing, a signature. You agree. You're now in a tiny way, a supporter. A few weeks later, they might call back. Thank you so much for your support by signing our petition. As a supporter, would you be willing to hear more about our upcoming initiatives? You've said yes before, so you're more likely to say yes again. The next ask might be for a small, monthly donation of just $5. It seems so small, and you are, after all, a supporter. The commitments escalate, gently, gradually, until you find yourself a regular donor to a cause you only vaguely knew about a few months prior. The darkest applications of this are, of course, in cults and extremist groups. They don't ask a newcomer to renounce their family and donate all their worldly possessions on day one. That would be ridiculous. No, the first step is always small. Come to a free dinner and hear about our philosophy. Then, join us for a weekend retreat. It'll be fun. Then, why not contribute a small amount to help with the costs of our community? Each step is just a small deviation from the previous path. Each yes makes the next, slightly larger request seem more reasonable. The member is constantly justifying their own growing commitment. Well, I've already done X, so why isn't that much bigger of a deal? It's a slow, psychological boil, and the frog, that's us, never quite realizes how hot the water has gotten. But again, for most of us, this plays out in the most boring, everyday ways. You agree to serve on a small committee at work, just a few meetings. Then, you're asked to take notes for the group. Then, you're asked to head up a subcommittee. Soon, you're running the entire project, working late nights, and wondering how a simple yes to a minor role turned into this. The path of consistency led you there. So what's the escape hatch? How do we guard against this gentle, gradual pull? The key is to be aware of the starting point, to recognize the first, tiny yes for what it might be, the first brick on a path. This doesn't mean you should never agree to small requests. Being helpful and cooperative is a wonderful thing. It just means pausing every now and then to check the map. When a request escalates, ask yourself, if this were the first thing they had asked of me, would I have agreed to it? Separate the new request from the chain of previous commitments. Evaluate it on its own merits. Give yourself permission to be inconsistent. This is a powerful mental tool. The desire for consistency is a trap if it forces you to make bad decisions just to avoid feeling like you're changing your mind. It is perfectly okay, and in fact wise, to say, I agreed to that small thing, but this new request is more than I'm comfortable with. I'm going to say no. A person who can change their mind based on new information is not weak. They are intelligent. The slow art of the yes is powerful because it trades on our best qualities, our desire to be seen as reliable, consistent, and helpful. It's a dark psychology, trick hidden in the light of our own self-image. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we are so swayed by the gradual building of commitment, what happens when the opposite approach is used? What happens when instead of offering us more, something is offered as less? When it is made to seem rare, fleeting, and about to disappear forever, that sudden, sharp fear of missing out is a story of its own. That sudden, sharp fear of missing out. It's a peculiar feeling, isn't it? A quickening of the pulse, a slight tightness in the chest, a feeling that time is suddenly moving faster and you're moving too slow. It's the anxiety of the closing door, the panic of the last piece, the desperate urge to grab something, not necessarily because you want it, but because soon you can't have it. This feeling, this fear, is one of the most potent weapons in the arsenal of everyday persuasion. It is the principle of scarcity, and it works because our brains are wired in a very specific and very simple way. We want what we can't have. Or more accurately, we want what is perceived to be rare, limited, or difficult to obtain. Think about it in the most basic terms. Imagine a bowl of apples. There are 10 apples. They all look fine. You're not particularly hungry. You might take one, you might not. No big deal. Now, let's change the scenario. The person next to you reaches into the bowl and takes an apple. Then another person takes one, and another. Suddenly, there are only 3 apples left. The bowl looks emptier. The remaining apples seem different, special, somehow. Your interest is piqued. You weren't hungry a moment ago, but now you feel a slight pull. You should probably take one before they're all gone. Now, let's turn it up one more notch. Someone announces, just so everyone knows, this is the last shipment of apples we'll ever get. Once these are gone, there are no more. Ever. That changes everything, doesn't it? Those aren't just apples anymore. They're the last apples. They are relics, artifacts. Their value in your mind skyrockets. You might even take two, just in case. The fear of missing out has been activated. The scarcity principle is in full effect. This isn't just about apples, of course. It's about everything. It's the limited edition sneaker release that causes lines around the block. It's the only 3 left in stock notification on a website that makes you click add to cart faster than you ever thought possible. It's the sale ends tonight email that convinces you to buy a thing you've been casually considering for weeks. Scarcity works because it does 2 things to our brains simultaneously. First, it creates a sense of urgency. It imposes a deadline on our decision-making. It tells our lazy, shortcut-loving brain, hey, you can't ponder this forever. You can't compare options. You have to decide now. This urgency short-circuits our careful, rational thinking and pushes us into impulsive action. We stop asking, do I need this? And start asking, can I get this? Second, and more subtly, scarcity implies value. We use availability as a mental shortcut for quality. If something is rare, difficult to get, or sold out, our brain makes a simple calculation. If it's so popular that it's almost gone, it must be good. People must know something I don't. Scarcity is a form of social proof, but with a time limit. It's not just everyone wants this. It's everyone wants this, and soon you won't be able to join them. This is the dark little trick hidden within every countdown timer on every sales page. The timer itself is a predator of your attention. It's not there to help you. It's there to haunt your hesitation. It creates a tiny, controlled panic. But scarcity isn't just about quantity. It's also about access. This is the world of exclusivity, the VIP club, the members-only section, the invitation-only event. Why does an exclusive club feel more desirable than an open one? Because it's scarce. Not everyone can get in. The very fact that you are in, or are being offered a chance to get in, makes you feel special. It flatters you, and it makes whatever is inside that club seem more valuable by association. A simple experiment demonstrated this beautifully. Researchers asked people to rate the quality of chocolate chip cookies. They put the cookies in 2 jars. One jar held 10 cookies. The other jar held just 2 cookies. Which cookies did people rate as better tasting? The cookies from the jar with only 2. Their perceived scarcity made them seem more desirable, more delicious. Then, they took it further. In some cases, they would accidentally take a cookie from a jar of 10, making a jar of 9, right in front of the person. The person's interest in the cookies from that jar would instantly increase. The cookies hadn't changed, but their perceived availability had. They were becoming scarce before the person's very eyes, and their value shot up. This is the magic trick. The value isn't in the object. It's in its perceived rarity. And perceived rarity is an illusion that can be conjured with a few simple words. Last chance. Almost gone. While supplies last. We see this in the art world, with limited edition prints. We see it in the tech world, with special edition products. We see it in the travel world, with only 2 seats left at this price. We are surrounded by a constant, gentle whisper telling us that things are running out, that opportunities are vanishing, that doors are closing. And we respond. We hustle. We buy. We sign up. We fear being left on the outside, empty-handed, while everyone else enjoys the last apple. So, how do we find calm in this manufactured storm of scarcity? How do we resist the siren song of the last chance? The first step is to recognize the trigger. When you feel that sudden jolt of urgency, that fear of missing out, pause. Take a breath. Acknowledge the feeling. Say to yourself, the scarcity principle. I see you. Then, perform a simple mental exercise. Separate the opportunity from the deadline. Ask yourself 2 questions. Would I want this if it were freely available? And There was no time limit. Is this a genuine, unique opportunity, or is it a common one that is just being presented as rare? If you wouldn't want the thing without the artificial deadline, then the deadline is the only thing creating the desire. It's a phantom want. Let go. The darkest aspect of scarcity is that it preys on our fear of loss. We are often more motivated to avoid losing something than we are to gain something of equal value. Losing an opportunity feels worse than never having had it in the first place. Marketers and persuaders know this. They frame things not as potential gains, but as potential losses. Don't miss out. You'll regret it if you don't. But remember this. Most opportunities are not once in a lifetime. Most sales come back. Most products get restocked. The door that is closing today will often open again tomorrow, sometimes with an even better offer. The truly rare and valuable things in life are rarely advertised with a countdown timer. The illusion of scarcity is a powerful trick because it makes the ordinary feel urgent. It makes the common feel exclusive. It turns a simple apple into the last apple on earth. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we are so easily swayed by things that are rare and exclusive, what about the opposite? What about the things that are familiar? The people we know? The faces we like? What happens when the thing being sold is not a product, but a person? When the persuasion comes not from a deadline, but from a friendly smile? That gentle power of liking is where our story turns next. That gentle power of liking. It's the most natural thing in the world, isn't it? We say yes to people we like. It feels good. It feels right. It feels like friendship or camaraderie or just simple human connection. It doesn't feel like a trick. It feels genuine. But what if that feeling of genuine connection, of trust, of liking, could be engineered? What if the warmth you feel towards someone could be not a spontaneous spark, but the result of a carefully struck match? This is the subtle, powerful realm of the liking principle. It's the hidden psychology behind why we are so much more likely to agree to a request from a friend than from a stranger. And it's a tool that can be used to build bridges or to gently guide us across them. The rule is simple, almost boringly obvious. We prefer to say yes to the requests of people we know and like. But this simple rule is deconstructed into several powerful components. It's not just one thing that makes us like someone. It's a recipe, a combination of ingredients that, when mixed together, create a potent cocktail of persuasion. The first ingredient is physical attractiveness. Now, this feels shallow to talk about, but we must, because its effect is profound and largely unconscious. We automatically assign positive traits to good-looking people: talent, kindness, honesty, intelligence. This is known as the halo effect. A positive impression in one area casts a positive halo over everything else about the person. Think about advertising. Who sells us cars, toothpaste, life insurance? Almost invariably, attractive people. We are more inclined to listen to them, to trust them, to want to be like them, and by extension, to buy what they are selling. It's not a complex scheme. It's a simple, biological bias that is leveraged thousands of times a day. The second ingredient is similarity. We like people who are like us. We like people who share our tastes, our backgrounds, our opinions, our hobbies. We even like people who we perceive to be like us. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone new, and you discover you're both from the same hometown? Or you both have the same obscure favorite movie? Or you both hate the same vegetable? An instant bond forms. The walls come down just a little. You're on the same team. Skilled persuaders use this. They might subtly mirror your body language or your speech patterns. They might find a point of common ground and emphasize it. Oh, you're from Chicago? I went to school near there. It might be a small, almost insignificant similarity, but it works. It makes us feel understood. It makes the other person feel familiar. And familiarity is a cornerstone of liking. This leads us to the third ingredient, familiarity itself. We like things that are familiar to us. This is called the mere exposure effect. The more we are exposed to something, a song, a picture, a face, the more we tend to like it. This is why politicians work so hard to get their faces and names into our living rooms. It's why brands run ads, even when they don't have a specific sale to promote. They just want to be seen, to be familiar, so that when election day comes, or when you're walking down a supermarket aisle, their name or face triggers a faint, positive feeling. Not excitement, just comfort, recognition. And we are drawn to what is comfortable and familiar. The fourth ingredient is compliments. We like people who give us compliments. It's a direct line to our vanity and our self-esteem. Even if we know the compliment might be insincere or manipulative, a part of us still appreciates it. It still feels good. A salesperson might compliment your choice of car or your knowledge about a product. A colleague might praise your work on a project before asking for a favor. The compliment softens us. It makes us more receptive. It makes us like the person who made us feel good about ourselves. And the final, most powerful ingredient in the liking cocktail is cooperation. We like people who work with us toward a common goal. We like people who are on our side. This is the genius behind the oldest trick in the direct sales book, the Tupperware party. The request to buy plastic containers isn't coming from a faceless corporation. It's coming from your friend, Sally. She's hosting the party. She might get a free blender if everyone buys enough. You're not just buying Tupperware. You're helping Sally. You're cooperating with her. You're on her team. Saying no to a corporate ad is easy. Saying no to your friend Sally, who is right there, smiling at you, is much, much harder. The social cost of refusal is high. We see this everywhere. The car salesman who says, "You know, I'm on your side. I'm going to go fight my manager to get you this price." He's not just a salesman. He's your ally, your partner in the negotiation. You start to like him. You start to trust him. And that makes you more likely to buy from him. The dark side of the liking principle is its subtlety. It doesn't feel like we're being manipulated. It feels like we're making a friend. It feels natural. This makes it incredibly difficult to defend against. How do you say no to someone you genuinely like? How do you refuse a friend? This is why multi-level marketing schemes, MLMs, are so effective at parting people from their money. They aren't just selling a product. They are selling a community, a sense of belonging. They surround a potential recruit with friendly, likable people who all share a common goal. The desire to be part of that group, to be liked by them, can overwhelm our better judgment about the business itself. So, how do we navigate this? How do we enjoy the genuine pleasure of liking someone while guarding against its persuasive pull? The answer is to separate the liking from the request. When you feel a sudden surge of warmth and agreement towards someone, especially someone you don't know well, pause. Ask yourself a simple question. How much would I want this offer if it came from someone else? If a neutral, bland, unfamiliar person presented this exact same deal, would I still be interested? Evaluate the deal on its own merits. Separate the product from the presenter. Is the car a good price? Is the plastic container worth the money? Is the business opportunity sound? Judge the offer in a vacuum, away from the charming smile and the shared love of 80s rock music. It's not about becoming cynical or distrustful. It's about creating a small moment of awareness. You can still like the person. You can still enjoy the compliment. You can still appreciate your shared similarities. But you make the decision with a part of your brain that is insulated from that social warmth. The gentle power of liking is so effective because it feels so good. It taps into our profound human need for connection and belonging. It's a dark psychology trick hidden in the light of a friendly smile. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we are so swayed by people we like and feel familiar with, what about people we are conditioned to respect, to obey? What happens when the request doesn't come from a friend, but from a figure of authority? Someone in a uniform, someone with a title. That deep-seated instinct to defer to authority is a powerful current in our lives. That deep-seated instinct to defer to authority. It's like a current running beneath the surface of our everyday lives. A quiet, often invisible, underflow that guides our actions without us even realizing it. We see a person in a uniform, and we instinctively assume they know what they're doing. We hear a title like doctor or professor, and we lean in a little closer. We listen a little more carefully. We see an official-looking badge, a crisp suit, a nameplate on a door, and we grant a certain level of trust automatically. Why? Why do we do this? It's because from the moment we are born, we are taught a simple, crucial lesson for navigating society. Obeying authority is good. Disobeying authority is bad. This lesson is drilled into us by parents, teachers, and every institution we encounter. It's a rule that keeps us safe, helps society function, and allows us to learn from those who know more than we do. But this deeply ingrained rule of thumb, this mental shortcut of authority knows best, has a shadow side. It can be triggered not just by genuine expertise, but by the mere symbols of authority. And this is where the hidden trick lies. The most famous and most chilling demonstration of this comes from the experiments of psychologist Stanley Milgram in the 1960s. Now, I'll tell you this story, but we'll tell it slowly, calmly. It's a stark example, but we'll navigate it together as a quiet thought experiment. Milgram wanted to understand how ordinary people could be led to do seemingly terrible things. He set up a scenario where participants were told they were part of a study on learning and memory. They were assigned a role of teacher. Another person, who was actually an actor working with Milgram, was the learner. The teacher's job was to administer an electric shock to the learner every time they gave a wrong answer to a word-matching question. The shock generator was a terrifying-looking device with switches labeled from 15 volts, slight shock, to 450 volts, danger, severe shock. The teacher was given a sample 45-volt shock themselves to feel its jolt. As the experiment progressed, the learner, the actor, would make more mistakes. The shocks would increase. The actor would begin to grunt in pain, then yell, then plead to be let out, complaining of a heart condition. Eventually, he would fall silent. The real subject of the experiment, of course, was the teacher. What would they do? When they hesitated, turned to the man in the lab coat, the experimenter, he would simply give a series of calm, authoritative prompts. Please continue. The experiment requires that you continue. It is absolutely essential that you continue. You have no other choice. You must go on. The question was, how far would ordinary people go? Before the experiment, Milgram asked psychiatrists to predict the results. They believed only about 1% of people, sadists, would go to the highest level. The actual result? 65% of participants administered the final, 450-volt shock, even after the learner had fallen terrifyingly silent. They did it not because they were evil. They did it because an authority figure, a man in a lab coat, in a Yale University laboratory, running a scientific experiment, told them to. The symbols of authority, the lab coat, the university setting, the scientific purpose, were so powerful that they overrode the participants' own moral objections, their own empathy for the person they thought they were shocking. This is the extreme end of the spectrum, but it reveals the awesome power of perceived authority. We are conditioned to obey, even when it conflicts with our own conscience. But for most of us, this plays out in the most boring, everyday ways. Why do we trust a dentist in a white coat more than a dentist in a Hawaiian shirt? The knowledge is the same, but the symbol of the white coat carries weight. It signifies expertise, professionalism, and authority. It primes us to trust and obey. Why do we slow down when we see a police car in the rearview mirror, even if we're not speeding? The car is a symbol. The uniform is a symbol. They trigger an automatic response of compliance. Why does a financial advisor with a title like Vice President of Wealth Management seem more credible than one who just says, "I'm good with money"? The title is a symbol. It implies experience, education, and an institutional endorsement. We rarely ask to see their actual credentials. The title is enough. Advertisers use this constantly. 4 out of 5 doctors recommend. They don't show you the doctor's names or credentials. They just use the symbol of the doctor, the white coat, the stethoscope, to trigger that authority response. We are not meant to think critically. We are meant to see the symbol and defer. This is the dark little trick. We often stop thinking for ourselves when an authority symbol is present. We outsource our judgment. We assume that the person with the title, the uniform, or the degree has already done the thinking for us, and that their conclusion is the correct one. So, how do we stay grounded in the face of these symbols? How do we respect real authority without being blindly led by its trappings? The first step is to be aware of the effect, to notice the symbols themselves. See the white coat, notice the title, acknowledge the uniform, and then, consciously, make a choice to look past them. Ask questions. A real authority, a true expert, is usually happy to explain why they hold a certain opinion. They can explain the reasoning behind their advice. A symbol of authority, on the other hand, often relies on the symbol itself to be the reason. Because I said so is the mantra of the symbol, not the substance. Separate the symbol from the substance. Is this person's advice good on its own merits? Does it make sense to you? Do their recommendations align with your own goals and values? Or are you simply agreeing because of the title on their business card? Give yourself permission to question. Healthy respect for authority is one thing. Blind obedience is another. It is perfectly okay, and in fact wise, to say, I respect your position, but I need to understand the reasoning behind this. The hidden authority of symbols is so powerful because it taps into a lifetime of conditioning. It feels natural to comply. It feels wrong to question. But true authority is not threatened by questions. Only its symbols are. It's about navigating the world with a quiet confidence in your own judgment, while still being open to the knowledge of genuine experts. It's about knowing that a uniform can represent skill and duty, but it can also just be a costume. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we are so conditioned to defer to those above us, what about our relationships with our equals? What about the gentle, unspoken rules that govern give and take? What happens when someone gives us something first, creating a silent, ancient sense of debt? That powerful, unspoken rule of exchange is the final story in our journey. That powerful, unspoken rule of exchange is perhaps the oldest rule of human society. Older than money, older than laws. It is the glue that holds communities together. It is the foundation of trust and cooperation. It is a deep, instinctual understanding that lies within all of us. The rule is simple. If someone gives you something, you are obligated to give something back. This is the rule of reciprocity, and it is so deeply woven into the fabric of our being that to violate it feels deeply, profoundly wrong. It feels like a betrayal. It creates a sense of unease and indebtedness that we are powerfully motivated to resolve. Think about the last time a friend bought you lunch. What was the feeling that followed? It was probably a warm feeling of gratitude, but intertwined with that warmth was likely a quiet, mental note. I'll get the next one. It's almost automatic. They gave, so now we must give back. We don't want to be in their debt. We want the scales to be balanced. This instinct is what allowed early human tribes to thrive. One hunter has a successful day and shares his meat with others. Later, when another hunter is successful, he shares in return. This system of give and take creates bonds of mutual obligation that ensure the entire group survives, even when individuals have bad luck. It's a beautiful, ancient social contract. But this beautiful, ancient social contract has a backdoor. And it is a backdoor that is exploited every single day in the most mundane ways. Because the rule of reciprocity is powerful, but it is also surprisingly dumb. It doesn't care about the size of the gift. It doesn't care about your desire for the gift. It doesn't even care if you ask for the gift. The rule is triggered the moment something is given. A gift, however small, creates a debt, and we feel a powerful urge to repay it. This is the dark little trick hidden within reciprocity. It can be used to trigger a feeling of obligation for a negligible cost. Let's start with a classic example. The Hare Krishnas, a religious group, famously used this principle to boost their donations in airports in the 1970s. They couldn't simply ask busy, hurried travelers for money. They were often ignored or refused. So, they changed their tactic. They would walk up to a traveler and, without asking for anything, press a small flower into their hand. "This is for you," they would say. A gift. The traveler, caught off guard, would often accept it. It was just a flower. But the moment they took it, the psychological rule of reciprocity was activated. They felt a debt. A small one, but a debt nonetheless. Then, the Krishna member would ask for a donation, and the traveler, holding the flower, would feel incredibly uncomfortable refusing. To say no now would feel rude, stingy, like a violation of a social contract. So, more often than not, they would dig into their pocket and offer a few dollars or some change to repay the debt. The Krishnas often made more money from the donations than they lost on the flowers. They had turned a profound social rule into a simple, effective transaction. We see this everywhere in modern life. Why do charities send you free address labels, personalized notepads, or tiny coins glued to a card? They are unsolicited gifts. You didn't ask for them, but they arrive in your mailbox, and a part of you feels that faint, nagging sense of obligation. The charity is hoping that feeling will translate into a donation. And for many people, it does. Why does the grocery store offer free samples? It's not just to let you taste the cheese. It's a gift. A tiny, delicious gift. And as you stand there, savoring the free piece of aged cheddar, you feel a slight pull towards the cheese counter. To just walk away feels wrong. So you buy a small wedge. The debt is repaid. Why does a car salesman offer you a free coffee? A bottle of water? Why are they so hospitable? It's not just good customer service. Each small kindness is a tiny gift, adding weight to the scales of reciprocity. When it comes time to negotiate, you might be ever so slightly more flexible, less aggressive, because a part of you doesn't want to be confrontational with someone who has been giving you things. Even in personal relationships, this rule can be manipulated. The person who is always doing favors, always giving gifts, can sometimes be creating a web of unspoken debt. They may later ask for a favor that is far larger than the sum of their small gifts, knowing that the other person will feel obligated to agree. The rule is so powerful that it even works with concessions. This is called the rejection then retreat technique. Someone asks you for a huge, unreasonable favor, something you will definitely say no to. You refuse. Then, they retreat and ask for a much smaller, more reasonable favor. You are now far more likely to agree to the smaller favor. Why? Because they have given you a concession. They withdrew their large request. And now, you feel obligated to give a concession in return, agreeing to the smaller request. It feels like a compromise. It feels fair, but it was a strategy from the start. The large request was never the real goal. It was just a setup to make the smaller request seem reasonable and to trigger your instinct to reciprocate a concession. So, how do we live with this ancient, powerful rule without being exploited by it? How do we enjoy genuine gift giving without feeling secretly manipulated? The first step is, as always, recognition. When you feel that sudden, unexpected sense of obligation after receiving something, pause. Identify the trigger. You can think, this is the rule of reciprocity. I am feeling a debt. Once you have recognized it, you can reframe the transaction. Understand that a true gift comes with no strings attached. A genuine friend buys you lunch because they wanna, not because they expect you to pay next time. The obligation we feel in those cases is often our own projection of a rule. But when a gift comes from a stranger or a business, it is almost never just a gift. It is a tactic. You are allowed to see it as such. You can accept a free sample, enjoy it sincerely, and walk away without buying anything. Your acceptance of the sample was the completion of the transaction for them. They got your attention. You tried the product. You do not owe them a purchase. The debt is an illusion. You can learn to accept gifts and favors without feeling indebted. A simple, heartfelt, "Thank you so much, that's very kind," is a complete and sufficient response. It acknowledges the gift without committing to a return. It fulfills the social requirement of politeness without activating the deeper obligation. The rule of reciprocity is a beautiful, ancient part of being human. It is the foundation of kindness and cooperation. Its dark side isn't in the rule itself, but in its exploitation. The trick is to be a willing participant in the beautiful dance of mutual exchange, while recognizing when someone is trying to lead you into a trap. It's about knowing that the oldest debt in the world is only a debt if you choose to honor it. And with that, We have reached the end of our journey through the quiet, hidden psychology of everyday life. And so, we find ourselves at the end of our quiet exploration. We've drifted through the hidden architecture of everyday life, past the gentle nudges of priming, the gravitational pull of the crowd, and the slow, steady path of the foot in the door. We've felt the manufactured urgency of scarcity, the warm glow of liking, the weight of authority's symbols, and the ancient, unspoken debt of reciprocity. These are not sinister forces of control. They are simply currents. Currents in the vast, quiet ocean of human interaction. They are the deep, often invisible, patterns that shape our behavior, making our complex social world possible. They are the reason we can navigate a crowded street, a busy store, or a conversation without having to consciously analyze every single step. Knowing about them doesn't mean we must become suspicious of every choice, every interaction. That would be exhausting. Instead, this knowledge is like a soft light turned on in a familiar room. It doesn't change the furniture, but it allows you to see it all more clearly, to notice the contours, to appreciate the design. It allows you to feel the current you're swimming in, and to sometimes, if you choose, swim gently against it. To make a choice that feels truly, deeply your own. To accept a free sample with a smile and walk away, unburdened by obligation. To choose the empty restaurant, trusting your own curiosity over the crowd's opinion. This awareness is not a shield against influence, but a gentle awakening to the quiet music that has always been playing in the background of your life. And now that you can hear it, you can simply listen. You can let the melody of human nature, in all its clever, boring, and predictable beauty, wash over you. There is no need to do anything with this knowledge tonight. No need to analyze or plan. Simply let it settle. Let the concepts blur and soften at the edges, like distant lights seen through a sleepy fog. You are safe. You are aware. And you are wonderfully human. So let your breath slow, and let your mind drift away from the tricks and the currents, away from the choices and the nudges, into the quiet, still waters of sleep, where nothing is required of you but to rest.